Welcome back to the College Basketball Bracket Science Podcast, your encyclopedia for the college basketball season. Now, we are in Cincinnati. I was here for the Cincinnati Xavier game, the crosstown shootout. So that is why it is an AirPod podcast. It is not going to be the highest quality sound, so I apologize for that. Don't have the standard podcast equipment, but we're just going to deal with it. We're reporting live here from Cincinnati. It was definitely the most loaded slate of the season on Saturday. Many teams fell, including top 10 teams, two of them. More other ranked teams also continued to fall. But then today, it is Monday, so we have new rankings. We're going to talk about these new rankings, and with huge results comes new rankings for us. We're going to talk about our newest power rankings, which is a combination of resume, metrics, and eye test, of course. To finish out the show, we're going to give you some of the games to watch for this week. We got a slower week this week, probably the weakest week we've had so far this college basketball season, but Tuesday and Wednesday have pretty solid games. So we're going to talk about those, and we'll talk about the opening KenPom lines. But the heart of the show today is going to be our newest rankings. And then, of course, we'll talk about the AP poll as well. Be sure to like and subscribe before we move on. Follow us on social media at Bracket Science with 2 S's. Right now on our social medias, we are doing a 12 days of Christmas sort of thing, but we're doing 12 days of random resumes. So we're posting new resumes on there. And then, of course, click the link below for some quality clothing. A little hobby that we do. We find great college gear on Amazon and link it below. It's all in our shop, so go check that out below. Link in the description. Let's dive right into it. Not going to be the longest podcast today, but we got a lot of games to talk about on that December 14th. Most loaded day that we've had in college hoops this season. Let's just go in order of what the AP poll was at that point, and then we'll dive into to the new AP poll along with our rankings. Starting with number 1, Tennessee, who went to Illinois and beat them 66-64 thanks to a Jordan Gainey buzzer beater at the end. Illinois score was 64-64. Illinois just refused to stop the ball, and Jordan Gainey came all the way down to the rack, laid it in. It was a Jordan Gainey legacy game the entire way. 23 points for him, 3 threes, 8 for 9 from the free throw line. Legacy game. This was mainly because Zakai Ziegler and Chaz Lanier both fouled out. That's going to be one of our thoughts that we want to talk about a little bit. The excessive foul calls in college basketball. 24 fouls for Tennessee in this one, and 21 for Illinois. 45 fouls, and that's not as much as I've seen in some other games. 45 fouls in 40 minutes of basketball. Come on now, that is ridiculous. I'm so tired of these refs just feeling like they have to blow the whistle and everything. Let's let them play. Tennessee did not play too well in this one. They shot 32% from the field. Now, as mentioned, Chaz Lanier, their main guy, their main scorer, fouled out. He did end up with 17 points, only played 26 minutes. Zakai Ziegler only played 25 minutes because he also fouled out. They shot 28 free throws. Illinois shot 36 free throws. Illinois made 30 of them. Tennessee made 20 of them, so there was a huge differential there. But Tennessee, that's what the great teams do. They end up sneaking out those games that maybe they shouldn't win. Kasparis Jessionis for Illinois has become one of the best freshmen in the entire country. In this one, he had 22 points, only 5 of 15 from the field. Got to the free throw line 14 times, though, because who didn't in this basketball game? Knocked down 10 of them. He is a legit stud. He did have 7 turnovers in this one, which is the same thing I would probably do against a Tennessee defense, but that is a lot of turnovers. Let's move on to number 2, Auburn. Many people think Auburn should be number 1. They are not. They're still number 2. They have the lone loss to at Duke. They played Ohio State in this one and just absolutely dismantled them. Beat them by 28 in the first half, 38 total. It was just a complete Jonai Broom domination. I personally think Auburn's the best team in the country. Listen to Jonai Broom's stat line in this one. 21 points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks, 1 steal, 0 turnovers. He is as dominant as there has been in college basketball this season. He is definitely the front runner for National Player of the Year. On Ohio State side, it was just a whole bunch of nothing. Remember we mentioned Aaron Bradshaw we thought was going to be back. He didn't play in this one. I don't think it would have helped, quite frankly, all that much. But just domination for Jonai Broom. Ohio State, it might be about time that we have a conversation about Jake Diebler's future there. If they don't make the tournament, will it be a one and done sort of thing? We'll find out. Now, rivalry game, Louisville at Kentucky. It was a good game. Number 5, Kentucky, which we'll talk about them moving up to number 4 in the AP poll here in a little bit. This rivalry game, it's nice to see it close again, at least. Louisville, at least competent. Now Louisville only played 7 guys in this one. They basically got 8 scholarship guys that are healthy, so depth is a real issue for Pat Kelsey's squad. But the story for Kentucky, Lamont Butler, not known for his offense, scored 33 points in this one, 10 of 10 from the field, 6 of 6 from three. Now, he made that huge shot a couple years ago, remember, to send San Diego State to the national championship over FAU. He's not an offensive guy. He is a tremendous defender, but man, did he step up in this one without Kerr Kriisa. Kerr Kriisa is hurt with a fracture in his foot. Lamont Butler, 33 points. Kentucky gets the win, 93-85. Louisville, kind of impressed by Chucky Hepburn and Terrence Edwards in this one. They kept him in this game, but that Rupp Arena, just too much. Kentucky gets the win, but Louisville gets the cover in that one, maybe more importantly for some folks. Number 6 Marquette went to Dayton, got off to a hot start, led by 10 at the half, ended up losing by 8. Dayton outscored them by 18 in the second half. That Dayton Flyer environment was absolutely electric as Dayton picks up their second, I guess, really key win this season. Remember, they have that win over UConn and now a win over Marquette, probably the 2 best teams in the Big East. Story, Nate Santos, 12 points, 13 rebounds, just balance scoring all the way through. For Dayton, Zed Key added 15, Javon Bennett 15, Enoch Cheeks added 14. Great defense, 3 steals by both Javon Bennett and Enoch Cheeks. They were able to kind of contain Cam Jones to only 18 points in this one. Chase Ross also added 19. Cam Jones, 6 of 13 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. It's pretty impressive when that's a bad game for him, but this Dayton defense was absolutely fantastic. Great win for Dayton there. Looking like the A-10. Going to get a couple bids this year. Love to see that. Now, Creighton went to number 7 Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Got beat 83-75. Ended up being a close game. Kind of expected Alabama to blow them out, but they were blowing them out for a while in the first half. I would say the score was a little closer than Alabama kind of controlled the entire way, but obviously Creighton without Pop Isaacs. But Jackson McAndrew really stepped up. He stepped into the starting lineup, had 16 points, knocked down 5 threes. Ryan Kalkbrenner, 18 points and 7 rebounds. He's fantastic as always. Jemiah Neal looked fine. Stephen Ashworth looked fine. I was kind of impressed with Creighton. Excuse me, a team I have been a little bit lower on this entire year, but Mark Sears finally popped off in this one. 27 points, 4 of 7 from 3. He looked like Mark Sears yet again, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and Alabama still continued to play 11 players. They removed the red shirt off Houston Millett, so he is now playing with the recent injury problems that Alabama's had, specifically Latrell Wrightsell. Chris Youngblood also got some first action, the transfer from USF, who can really score the basketball. He played 16 minutes, only scored 5 points, but once they incorporate him into the lineup, Alabama going to be even scarier. Alabama picks up a big win over Creighton. Now, a ranked-on-ranked matchup, we had number 8 Gonzaga taking on number 18 UConn in Madison Square Garden, where UConn got the better of them. UConn is back. They win 77-71, controlled pretty much the entire way. A Liam McNeely breakout game is what we witnessed. Liam McNeely ended the game with 26 points. In fact, he was the only player on UConn to score over 12 points. He had 26, got to the free throw line a bunch because refs cannot keep the whistle out of their mouth. In this game, we saw 36 fouls in 40 minutes. It's ruining basketball right now. But Liam McNeely, 10 of 12 from the free throw line, 7 of 13 from the field. Alex Caravan was held in check, but story for Gonzaga was Graham Ike. 3 points, only 12 minutes, got into foul trouble right away. 4 fouls, 4 turnovers. Ugly game for Graham Ike. They're going to need one of their big men to really step up. I watched this entire game. What I will say about Gonzaga, I'm starting to have a little bit of concerns because if Graham Ike has to face any, I think Terrace Reed is spectacular. I think he's really underrated, and he got the better of Graham Ike, got him in foul trouble. Their secondary bigs just aren't that impressive to me. Braden Huff and Ben Gregg, they've been around for a while. I don't like their bench at all, quite frankly. I don't like Braden Huff, Ben Gregg, and Dusty Stromer coming off the bench. People say Dusty Stromer's underrated. No, he is not. He is perfectly rated. He played 30 points in this one, 1 of 5 from him. That's a Dusty Stromer kind of game. What I will say, Caleb Battle and Ryan Nemhard might be the best backcourt in the entire country. Ryan Nemhard is fantastic. Caleb Battle is I think he is going to end up being a very good pro. It's the rest. Michael Ajayi has been solid. Michael Ajayi is great, and obviously Graham Ike, and I like Nolan Hickman shooting some threes, but that's five guys. And then their bench, I'm just not there on it yet. I'm not there on Braden Huff and Ben Gregg. When they play elite opponents like UConn, they're going to struggle. They are going to struggle. So UConn picks up a huge, huge win. UConn is just on a terrific stretch. We'll talk about them here in a little bit when we get into our rankings. Now, Arizona State took on number 9 Florida. This was a neutral site game. Favored Florida, though. Florida won 83-66. Walter Clayton Jr., 25 points. The story in this one. We'll start going through these a little bit quicker. NC State took on number 10 Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. Kansas held them off pretty easily. 75-60. Hunter Dickinson, 21 points. 14 rebounds. Now, another ranked-on-ranked matchup. Number 17 Texas A&M took on number 11 Purdue. This game was in Indiana, so it definitely favored Purdue. It was Texas A&M who got the job done, 70-66. I think Texas A&M, quite frankly, just a lot more talented of the team this year. Wade Taylor, 15 points. Zurich Phelps, 16 points. I love Farrell Payne. Farrell Payne's become one of my favorite players in college basketball. Coming off the bench, 16 points, 9 rebounds. The story, the turnovers for Purdue. Trey Kaufman-Wren had 5 turnovers. Braden Smith had 6 turnovers. Those are your two best players. They both turned the ball. They combined to turn it over 10 times. That's not good. That's not a recipe for success. Now, this Texas A&M defense is legit, but Purdue, starting to see a little bit of concerns about them as it seems like a lot of people are starting to, unfortunately, say the same thing. Now, number 13, Oklahoma, took down Oklahoma State in a rivalry game. 80-65. Godwin added 20 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 steals in that one. Oklahoma just dominated the entire way. Now, to open the day, this was an 11 o'clock Eastern time game. Absolutely love it. Memphis traveled to number 16 Clemson and beat them 87-82. Memphis just the better team, I think, quite frankly. Tyrese Hunter added 7 threes again. He has been lights out this season. Tyrese Hunter looking like an All-American, quite frankly. He's been fantastic. The trio of him, Colby Rogers, and Tyrese Hunter, Colby Rogers, and PJ Haggerty. That trio is absolutely fantastic. Colby Rogers added 22 points in this one. PJ Haggerty, a little bit of a down game for him, but he's just been absolutely awesome. One of the top scorers in all of college basketball. Number 20, Wisconsin, went to Butler and beat them 83-74. This was not at Butler. It was in Indiana, in Indianapolis, so basically almost Butler. Wisconsin kind of led the whole game, 83-74. Now, in the crosstown shootout, the game that I was at, Cincinnati ended up getting the better of Xavier, 68-65. Xavier controlled this entire game. Now, what I will say, just being in this game, we'll talk about it a little bit. It's one of the top 3 or 4 rivalries in all of college basketball. Being at this game, it was probably the best environment of a game I've ever been in. Cincinnati, really popped out. I mean, that place was absolutely electric. It was so loud the entire way, especially at the end. Now, if you didn't see it, Dan Skillings had a massive dunk, fast break dunk that just raised the roof off of that building. It was absolutely incredible. But Xavier honestly quieted the crowd pretty good. They led most of the way until a late push led by the crowd and led by Seamus Lakushas, who had a rough game for a while and then kind of started knocking down some big shots at the end. He did lead Cincinnati with scoring with 14. Two teams that have really spectacular guards. Neither of them could really put the ball in the hoop for a while. Both teams shot 37% from the field. Quite frankly, I thought Xavier was the better team. The duo of Ryan Conwell and Zach Fremantle, I thought, was the best one out there. Now, neither team could make a shot, so take it as you must, but they kind of played into how Xavier wanted to play this game. They really wanted to slow it down, use their defense, and they did. Just Xavier couldn't make the buckets when they needed to. Now, the story were the big men in this game. Dalen Swain and Zach Fremantle for Xavier were good, and Ares Badongo was also good for Cincinnati. He had 12 points. Dylan Mitchell, crazy athletic. Even seeing him in person, it is crazy how athletic this guy is. He had a double-double, 11 points, 10 rebounds, and he can just, when he gets to the rim and lays it up, I mean, his arm is 12 feet. It's 2 feet above the rim. He can just lay it in. No one can block him. He's spectacular, but quite frankly, leaving this game, I don't think either team is a second weekend team, quite frankly. I don't think either of them make the Sweet 16, but great game to be at, great environment. Shout out to Cincinnati. Cincinnati gets the job done. I left still believing, once again, Xavier might be the better team, but Take it as you must. Both teams really could not score the ball in this one. Now, a team that has real concern right now is Arizona. Arizona took on number 24 UCLA. This game was in Phoenix. Arizona led by 13 in the second half, and UCLA came all the way back, beat them 57 to 54. Arizona did not make a field goal the last 8 minutes and 30 seconds of this game. This UCLA defense is fantastic, but Arizona cannot score the ball this year whatsoever. Cannot score the ball. I don't know what is going on. Tommy Lloyd is maybe the best offensive head coach in the entire country. His offenses are always spectacular. But Tyler Bilodeau and Sky Clark, the transfer from Oregon State, Tyler Bilodeau and the transfer from Louisville, Sky Clark, they combined for 32 points. I mean, the score was 57-54. Low scoring game. They played into UCLA's hands. UCLA has electric defense, top 5 defense in the entire country. Caleb Love has just been non-existent this season, quite frankly, only 7 points in this one. Trey Townsend kind of looks like, I thought Trey Townsend was going to be one of the guys that I was certain would translate nicely. He hasn't. He had 10 points in this one. Jaden Bradley had 12. I love Jaden Bradley. I think he's great, and he's kind of carrying this team right now. 12 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals. I think Jaden Bradley might be their best player over Caleb Love, quite frankly. But it's ugly right now for Arizona. They're 4-5. This is not what they wanted going in. Now, all 5 of their losses are quad 1 losses. So that's some good news. So if you go, they're going to have to go over 500 in Big 12 play to get into the tournament, quite frankly. They're not going to let a team that doesn't have a quad 1 win right now in non-conference play, and that is, quite frankly, under 500. They're not going to let them in the tournament. So Arizona, they got some serious work to do. Now, McNeese went to Mississippi State, where Mississippi State took them down 66 to 63. Close game in that one. Georgia took on Grand Canyon, beat them 73 to 68. Georgia sneaky, really good. I'm going to keep mentioning it. Watch out for Georgia. St. Mary's took on Boise State in Idaho. Boise State got the better of them 65-67. This was a very close game, and the game wasn't on TV. How frustrating is that? But this game went into overtime. Boise State ended up holding them off. They needed this win badly. St. Mary's in the tournament conversation. I had St. Mary's ranked for a while. I think I just dropped them out, but they're looking pretty good. And then Georgetown took on Syracuse and beat them at Syracuse 75 to 71. Syracuse is horrible this year. I mean, horrible. Georgetown 8-2 to start. Good start for Ed Cooley and Georgetown. Expect them to fall back a little bit in the Big East though. So what does this mean? That's all the results. Now, we had a busy week of college basketball. We had 9 undefeated teams entering the week. We are down to 5. You can see the graphic on YouTube of those 5 teams that are remaining undefeated. Tennessee, the number 1 team in the country. Drake, Oklahoma, Utah State, and Florida. Tennessee and Florida not really flying under the radar in the SEC. Drake and Ben McCollum, man, love to see this team. They got a big one this week. We'll talk about that. Oklahoma also in the SEC. Weird saying Oklahoma in the SEC, but they won the battle for Atlantis. They got a great resume. They're top 15 in the country right now, according to the AP poll. And Utah State has a win over St. Bonaventure. That's a good win. They have a win over North Texas. They have a busy week coming up as well. They're gonna. I'd love to see them on the big stage and see what they can do against some real elite competitions. And not that St. Bonaventure isn't a great win, but you know what I mean. Teams that lost this week: Oregon, they got beat by UCLA. Rhode Island lost. Loyola Chicago lost last night to San Francisco, and UC Irvine lost to Oregon State on Saturday. So 4 teams down. We have 5 remaining. Let me know who you think will be the last team remaining. All right, next let's get into our rankings. The rankings, as you can see on YouTube, we got the graphic pulled up. Now, what I will say about these rankings, I rank the top 30, and then I do some strongly considered. I needed 35 or 36 spots for this one. Anywhere between, let's say, 21 and 35 are about as close as you can get, quite frankly. You could throw any of the teams that you see on that strongly considered up there. But let's go through them 1 through 30 just briefly. Auburn at number 1, I think they're, quite frankly, I see people who put Tennessee at number 1. Tennessee's fantastic. I just bet Tennessee to win the national championship a couple weeks ago, so I think they're really good. Still think Auburn is just the best team in the country. I do have Tennessee at 2. Iowa State at 3 with their lone loss coming to Auburn only by 2, where Iowa State, quite frankly, controlled most of that game. At 4, Kentucky. At 5, Duke. which this is the same as the AP poll I will mention, except Tennessee and Auburn are flipped. 6, Alabama. 7, Florida. 8, Marquette. 9, Kansas. 10, Houston. Yes, I have Houston up there. Now, as mentioned, this is a combination of eye test, resume, and also the metrics. The metrics love Houston, quite frankly. They're top 5 in just about every category. They had a rough stretch in the Players Era Festival. They also they dropped that game to Auburn, where they were competitive, and we're saying Auburn's the best team in the country. I still think Houston's really good. They've had some health problems. We're talking about UConn really moving up the rankings because they lost 3 in a row in Maui and then just picked up 3 huge wins. I think the same thing is going to be coming for Houston. I think I still lean Houston over Kansas. I have Kansas ahead of them because Kansas does have the better resume right now by quite a bit. So I still got Houston to top 10. I got UCLA at 11. UCLA is the favorite in terms of the sports books to win the Big Ten. At number 11, they're not that high in the AP poll. I like what I see there. At number 12, Oregon. Oregon really hasn't done anything wrong. I don't know. Just personally, I feel like some regression's coming. At 13, Texas A&M. Yes, I talk a lot of trash about Texas A&M and the way their offense can be just so selfish and ugly at some points, but they're winning games and they look spectacular. Memphis has been great. Memphis, one of my teams where it's like they could legit win a national championship. Like this team's got all the pieces. Tyrese Hunter is one of the best players in the country. We already talked about it. Tyrese Hunter, PJ Haggerty, Colby Rogers. It's fantastic. Dane just translating well. At 15, I do have UConn. Now, UConn is up to 11 in the AP poll. We'll talk about it here in a second. They obviously just got huge wins over Baylor, at Texas, and then they just beat Gonzaga. Great week for UConn. I got them up to 15. They still did lose those 3 games. They have a ton of quad 1 wins, but I don't feel comfortable moving them over Memphis A&M. And quite frankly, I think they're obviously better than, well, maybe not obviously, but I think they're better than Oregon. But I still think if you put them, Oregon's resume is just so much better. It's so much better as of right now. But let's move on. At 16, I did drop Gonzaga to there. They're still loved in the metrics. A little bit of a rough start to the season here. Now, they do have 3 huge wins. They obviously killed Baylor. They went to San Diego State and beat up on them at San Diego State, and they have one other one that Arizona State. But 7-3, they're kind of just shake their losses right now. I mean, the loss to UConn, fine. A loss to West Virginia on a neutral, I don't know. I'm still in, as I mentioned, they're concerned. So this is a little bit of an eye test sort of one with Braden Huff and Dusty Stromer and Ben Gregg, a little lower. At 17, I have Michigan State. Michigan State all the way up there. Just really haven't done anything wrong to start the season. Same goes for Oklahoma at 18. Purdue, I dropped to 19. I'm starting to fade Purdue a little bit. Ole Miss at 20. Their lone loss coming to Purdue by 2 on a buzzer beater. 21, Michigan State. 22, Baylor, or 21, Michigan. Excuse me. Sorry, Michigan fans. They just lost to Arkansas this week. 22, Baylor. 23, Dayton. Dayton all the way up to 23. They look great. They're Posh Alexander, Zed Key doing better than I expected. I took VCU to win the A10 this year. It looks like it's going to be Dayton's once again to lose. We should never fade Dayton. 24, Maryland. 25, St. John's. St. John's top 15 at Ken Pom. 26, Illinois. Not really sure about them right now. They've got a bunch of talent. I left kind of impressed with them after Tennessee. They lost, I know, they lost at Northwestern, but they got a win over Wisconsin. I'm still kind of I think they'll be somewhere between that 5 and 9 seed range this year. Cincinnati at 27, I actually dropped them after a win just from what I saw. I'm like, man, this team's they got to score the ball. 28, Clemson. 29, San Diego State, and 30, Mississippi State. Now, either of these next 5 or 6 teams could really be ranked. Now, these strongly considered usually are not in order. I did put them in order for this one. St. Mary's, I still think they deserve to be ranked. I think they're great. Same goes for Wisconsin. They're off to a great start this season. Georgia, I just couldn't find a place for them. I think Georgia's great. I know they beat St. John's, but St. John's is so much better in the metrics. Utah State is undefeated. As mentioned, I just kept them off because I need to see them beat an elite opponent. Arkansas just beat Michigan. I don't see them jumping into the rankings yet, but close. And Pitt was up to like 12 or 15 or something in the AP poll, and they've kind of just fallen off a little bit. That win at Ohio State was big, but then got drilled by Mississippi State. Drake also undefeated, and then Texas Tech right there. I didn't really consider Texas Tech, but still want to throw them on here. They have really strong metric numbers as well. All right, now let's talk about the AP poll. I'll pull up the graphic for you here. The AP poll just released. It is Monday right now, about 2 o'clock. So this released just about an hour ago. Tennessee is still 1, Auburn's 2, Iowa State's 3, Kentucky's 4, Duke is 5, Alabama 6, Florida 7. This is the same rankings as me, except flipped Tennessee and Auburn. Below them, Kansas at number 8, Marquette at 9, Oregon into the top 10, and as mentioned, UConn all the way up to 11. Texas A&M's at 12, Gonzaga's at 13. Oklahoma at 14, Houston still at 15, Purdue drops down to only 16. I thought they might be a little lower. Ole Miss at 17 and UCLA at 18. I think UCLA deserves to be in the top 15, quite frankly. Cincinnati at 19, Michigan State at 20, Memphis at 21. That feels too low. I think Memphis, if you were to stop the season right now, I think Memphis is a 3 seed. They have an incredible resume going right now. 22, Dayton, 23, San Diego State, 24, Michigan, and 25, Clemson. Clemson rounds out the top 25. That is this week's AP poll. All right, next let's dive into our games to watch, specifically only on Tuesday and on Wednesday. Now, these are 8 games, both days, pretty solid slates. Nothing too incredible except maybe 1 or 2 games. We'll talk about it. Starting with DePaul, traveling to St. John's. DePaul just picked up a big win over Wichita State. I faded DePaul, took Wichita State. DePaul blew them out. Good for DePaul and Chris Holtman. This game's at 5:30 on Peacock. Love to see these early games. St. John's favored by 13 via KenPom. At 7 o'clock, also on Peacock, UNLV travels to number 22 now, Dayton. Dayton also favored by 13 in that one at 7 o'clock on the ACC network. George Mason travels to now number 5, Duke. Remember, we mentioned Kentucky jumped Duke only by literally a total of 1 point in the AP poll. That's how close they are. Kentucky has the win over Duke, but Duke loved a lot more in the metrics. Duke favored by 17 in that one. I don't think that's enough points. At 7 o'clock on ESPN, this is the game of the night, maybe the game of the weekdays this year, or this week, excuse me. Number 7, Florida takes on North Carolina. This game is on a neutral floor. Florida is favored by 3 in this one, excuse me. That's at 7 o'clock on ESPN. North Carolina desperately needs this one. Florida's undefeated. They want to keep that. This is a very intriguing game. Not going to give any advice on who to bet in this one because I, quite frankly, am not 100% sure, but that is going to be a fun one. That game's in Charlotte, North Carolina. That is going to be a very, very fun one. Moving down, number 25, Clemson travels to South Carolina. Lamont Paris' squad, the SEC, has just dominated this year. This game's at 7 o'clock on the SEC network. Clemson favored by 3 via KenPom right now. Also don't really know how to bet this one. Stay away from it. At 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus, James Madison travels to Wake Forest. Wake Forest needs this win very badly, and James Madison, no slouch whatsoever. Wake Forest is 107th at KenPom right now. Yikes. They're favored by 7. We'll see. Some Big East action at 7:30. Seton Hall travels to Villanova. Villanova favored by 11. Don't look now, but Villanova playing very well. Eric Dixon, top 10 player in the country right now. Villanova favored by 11. At 8 o'clock on ESPN Plus, this is my second most favorite game, second favorite, whatever the phrase is, in this game. Undefeated Drake goes and takes on Kansas State. This game is in Kansas City, not at Kansas State. It's in Kansas City. Kansas State favored by 2 via KenPom. Drake is 73rd at KenPom. Kansas State 69th. Kansas State has been bad to start the year. Drake undefeated. This is a fun one. Also one of those, no idea what to take. I do not recommend betting Kansas State games at all because they have talent, and I think they're going to sneak a win over someone that they shouldn't, but they've just been pathetic to start the year, so we'll see. Alrighty, let's move on to Wednesday, where Georgetown has a huge opportunity as they host Creighton. Remember Creighton without Pop Isaacs. Georgetown looking to get in the tournament conversation. This game's at 6:30 on CBS Sports Network. Creighton favored by 3. You know Georgetown's going to come out for this one. We're going to see. That's an exciting one. At 7 o'clock, sticking with the Big East on FS1, number 11, UConn looks to stay hot. To take on Xavier, they host Xavier. UConn favored by 10 via KenPom. Xavier probably out of the tournament right now. They need a win bad. They need a notable win. Will they get it against number 11 UConn? I don't think so. 10 feels like a big number. We'll see. At 7 o'clock on ESPN2, number 21, Memphis travels to Virginia. Virginia off to a shaky start under Ron Sanchez. Memphis off to a great start. Memphis favored by 4 via KenPom. At 8 o'clock on ESPN Plus, San Francisco travels to Bradley. A fun mid-major mid-major game there. Bradley favored by 1 via KenPom in that one. Continuing with the Big East, Butler travels to number 9 Marquette. Marquette favored by 13 via KenPom. This game's at 9 o'clock on FS1. A ranked-on-ranked matchup. This is definitely my second favorite matchup of the week. Besides for that Florida-North Carolina game at 9 o'clock on ESPN2, Oklahoma takes on Michigan. Number 14 Oklahoma takes on number 24 Michigan. Now this is in Charlotte. I'm pretty sure this is part of the Jumpman. I don't know why it's not labeled Jumpman from anywhere I've seen. I'm pretty sure these are all Jordan, right? Florida, North Carolina, Michigan, Oklahoma. They're on 2 separate days. I feel like they used to not do that. I don't know why I haven't heard anything about it, but Michigan is favored by 3 in that one. That's at 9 o'clock on ESPN2. At 9 o'clock on the Mountain West Network, VCU travels to New Mexico, taking on the Pitt. New Mexico off to a rough start this year. They've been disappointing to start the year. They are favored by only 1 via KenPom. In fact, KenPom gives it a 50-50 game in this one, with that going to the Pitt. Knowing New Mexico, I think New Mexico wins. I think VCU's better, but I think New Mexico wins at that home environment. But New Mexico off to a rough start. At 11 o'clock on FS1, we got a rivalry game. Washington State takes on Washington. This game is at Washington. Washington State is the better team, even though Washington is in the Big Ten. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington State sneaks out a win there. Washington State off to a sneaky good start to the season. Once again, 11 o'clock FS1, Washington favored by 1 via KenPom. That's the games to watch. Once again, apologize if the audio is a little bit off. I'm in Cincinnati. This was a great week of college hoops. We got rankings. We're going to post those rankings for a visual on our Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. So go check those out once again at Bracket Science with 2 S's. Click that link below to get some quality apparel. Get it before Christmas. There's good stuff down there, and it's good deals. Trust me. Go check that out. Enjoy this week of college hoops. Now stay tuned. We have one more podcast, which we're going to do Friday or Saturday. Then we release our first bracketology of the year. The best episode of the year is the Christmas special bracketology. We'll release it. We'll go over all of that. It'll be a long podcast, but it is a very in-depth analysis of where teams are ranked, why they're ranked, all their metrics, all the net rankings, a whole bunch of that. So be prepared for that. That's probably going to release on Monday. So hit those post notifications so that you stay up to date on the college hoops world. Everyone have a safe rest of the week. Take care. Enjoy the holidays. See you later.